In this video, I'm going to show you how to add textured shading in Photoshop. I've drawn this paintbrush character, and each element that we want textured is in a separate layer. I've also renamed them and color coded them, so it's easy to see what's what at a glance. And we're going to add texture using some brushes. If you don't have any nice textured ones installed, you can click into your brush panel, select up here on the right and click Get More Brushes. That opens up Adobe site and you can download any of these awesome brushes from Carl T. Webster for free. I've made a little folder of some of those brushes that I like and a few of my own grain shading ones that I like as well. You can download those for free in the description. Let's start with the head. We're going to create a new layer above this one, and now we're going to make this new layer a clipping mask by holding either Alt or Option on our keyboard and then hovering over it with our cursor. And when we see this little downward pointing arrow, we click. And that creates a clipping mask, which is the key to the whole process. Now when I draw in this layer, it is only visible on the layer below it. Now we're going to roughly color in the bottom right of this head layer, because we're going to imagine our light source coming from the top left. And now we can select our move tool or press V on your keyboard, and now we can move that texture around independently. And we can also rotate it and adjust where it sits on top of that layer. And if we go over to our layer panel and option click that layer, it switches off the clipping mask and turns into a regular layer. Let's turn that back on. It's best to keep each texture on a new layer. So let's create a new layer above that, make it a clipping mask again, select our brush tool, and I'm going to hold Alt or Option to select my eyedrop tool and click on this pink area to change the color of my brush. Now let's go in and create some rim lighting by just touching the right edges of that layer. Now if we change our mind about what color we want that texture to be, we can either delete it and redraw it again, or if we're really in love by how that particular one was drawn, we can double click it over here in the layer panel and select the effect Color Overlay. And then if we click on this area here, we can choose another color inside this box or just click on one of the other colors inside our image. There we are. And let's hide these two layers for a second. Another way to add texture is to import a scanned image of some paint or texture into your PSD. We can set the blending mode of this layer to multiply to darken our image. Let's make that a clipping mask, of course. And we can add the curves effect by pressing Ctrl M and adjusting those to increase the contrast. We can also invert it by pressing Ctrl and I on our keyboard and then set its blending mode to screen in order to lighten that layer. I do prefer brushes for this illustration though. Over the top of everything, I like to add a texture that looks like this and then set that to screen. And let's tweak the curves on that layer as well, just so we get this nice bit of distress across the whole image. And let's scale that up a touch. We go through this same process for each layer of the design, creating clipping masks for all of them. Texturing this fella took around 40 minutes. Adding texture and shading like this is a great way to separate layers of the same color and add some volume to them, like I've done to his jacket here, by adding just a few lines to separate the sleeves and the lapels. You may have noticed that I'm not labeling all of the texture layers. That's because we're going to end up with loads of them, hiding some and deleting more. So it's just not practical. Because I've colored my main layers, I know everything not colored is a texture layer, and the clipping mask indents them to the right. But usually, we should always be labeling our layers. Please don't tell anyone. I've made a short playlist of some related videos that I think you'll enjoy if you've made it this far. I'll see you in the next video, and please consider subscribing if you'd like more of these videos every week.